some of the larger companies don't change. Well, I feel like there's a lot of bad products out there, scared that they're going to break something.
And everybody's struggling, and we understand that it's very hard.
Everybody rejects you. People don't want to work for you. Investors don't want to invest. Clients don't want to buy your stuff. Landlords don't want to leave you in office.
What do you do?
There's these like secret meetups.
You go to justpaid and it gives you the answers.
Welcome to Deconstructed VC. That's a YouTube show where we are going to deconstruct, maybe even dissect businesses and try to show which building blocks they're made of. This is our first episode, and welcome JustPaid team. We have Anelia, Daniel, and Vinay, who are the co-founders of this amazing service, which are brave enough to let me do this interview together with my wife, Marina. The first question is, what is JustPaid?
So JustPaid is a money movement platform that allows businesses to essentially understand, like, when a contract is signed, to upload that contract, you can literally understand like what's happening in your business when you're paying a bill or when you're receiving revenue.
Oh, so both ways.
Both ways. We're more focused on the receiving of revenue. People want to get paid, but we also have the payment side as well.
So is this like a virtual financial controller?
Yeah, I would say it's a virtual financial controller because it's technically doing all the manual work or manual entry what accounting clerk or accountant used to do, like taking two screens and looking side by side. And we are using AI to automate that entire whole process. So what accountant or a controller has to do is just review, like looking at all the data and make sure that is exactly what it intended to be, and then do the process. So it's more or less like an assistant to a financial controller.
Mm-hmm. So you're not replacing actual financial controllers, are you?
Well, we cannot replace their whole brain, but we can replace their manual entry process.
How does it feel to automate people out of their jobs?
We're not automating people out of jobs. We're just making them more efficient. So instead of having accounts payable department, accounts receivable department, and managers of those departments, you can have it, you can have a bit more effective team, and you can be preserving capital instead of on operations. You can focus on development. You can spend it elsewhere where it's way more effective for your businesses. So
what does it consist of? Like, so you're saying that it takes care of your revenue, it takes care of stuff that you pay. How does it work? Can you break it down? Like on an example?
Well, I can take the account receivables part and explain. So when a sales rep closes the deal, we upload their contract right inside their Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever CRM they use. What we JustPaid do is we suck that contract from your CRM software, or you can forward it to our unique mailing address that we assign to you. And our AI will start the process of manually reviewing that contract, which can be a PDF, which can be image, or whatever format that you send in. We extract that information from that file and make sure who is the vendor, who is the customer, what are the terms in that, what are the services that the customer is offered by that vendor, and what is the price associated with that service, and how often that customer is billed by this vendor. And also, like, what is the contractual length, how long that contract stands for. Is it 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and how often, and what are the payment terms, like how long a customer can wait before they can pay bills. And all of this information is extracted in the background and put it for review for the accountant or the sales rep who is actually overseeing that customer. Once they say this is all good, they can generate invoice with a single click, and they can review the invoice. So our system is smart enough to understand which services to bill at which time. So if you are billing a yearly service, it will pick up those yearly services in the first invoice. If you are billing monthly, it will pick up that monthly service if that is that particular month's service that you're offering for. So it is smart enough to identify which services to bill and put that invoice items into invoice and send an invoice to the customer.
Mm-hmm. That is a beautiful product. So you pretty much automated what a person would do
Yes,
if they are to do it properly.
exactly.
Super nice. How do you build something like this?
I think just going to the history of honestly some of Analia's background, we worked together for a long time.
Yeah, about 5 years we worked together.
Analia kind of had a map in her head, a blueprint of like how she did it for many, many companies. And, that was partly why we became co-founders, is because Analia was able to do this for so many companies at scale that had huge exits. And if we could take what Analia did and place that into AI, literally all these startups in Silicon Valley would be able to benefit from that sort of knowledge.
Yeah. So my background a little bit. About 15 years ago, 12 years ago, I started an accounting company here in Silicon Valley servicing YC-funded startups. And my idea was, I was public accountant before. I was working with a bunch of businesses, and I was done with that. And I was like, I want to work with one company, but I want an amazing industry and an amazing news field. So I offered at that time in 2011, YC batch, I offered free accounting services. My goal was they will raise capital, they will love me, I'll get a job in 3 months, and I can choose which one company I'm going to work at. So 3 months fast forward, I already had about 25 customers who were not paying me, and they all raised capital. And they're like, Anela, we now can pay you. So do you want to work with us? And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a full-time job. And they're like, we don't have enough time for a full-time accountant. Plus, you're so efficient, like there is no need. And at that day, I remember I was like, I'm not going to be a full-time accountant for anybody. I'm just going to start my own business. And I started my own business, and I was growing consistently. I had the product market fit with that company right away. I started growing my team. And throughout last 10 years, I've been working with amazing companies, overseeing their growth and working on their projections, modeling, and also working very closely in operations, because that would be a couple founders who just out of MIT, and they have an idea, but okay, how do you do business registration? How do you set up payroll? How do you do billing? How do you collect? How do you pay people? So all this, infrastructure, I was setting up company after company after company. And day after day, I see companies going through the process of, okay, we have our first revenue. How do we do billing? And all right, so there's ask for sales contract to be emailed to me. I'll read the sales contract. Then I'll create a billing records, and I'll create maybe follow-up, emails and collections, and try to get money in the door. There was a lot of work that I did on the back end to help the companies I was working with to be successful. And as companies grow, how many hours I would have to spend on managing this AR, and it became that at some point the company will bring this work in-house, and it will be hiring people. And this problem also with sales contracts or expense, vendor contracts. Those contracts read by many people, in the same company and outside of a company, but same document is read a few times. So you have to read it legal, you have to maybe read the security, you have to do it for accounting purposes, then you do it for tax purposes, and you do it for due diligence purposes, for M&A and whatnot. All the sales have to be validated. How do you know that the company is being acquired really has $100 million in ARR, right? All those contracts being.
Some people acquiring don't do that. We got that in.
Yeah, we do, and that's terrible. It's awful. So the idea is to be that platform that validates all of the revenue numbers. That if your revenue says, if you're using JustPaid, right, for your revenues, you can be talking to an investor and be like, all right, my revenues through JustPaid reporting is this, and it is truthful numbers. And you also delegating this revenue management to JustPaid. When we do the billing, we can maintain customer records, we maintain frequency of invoicing, we maintain revenue recognition schedules, because that affects our tax filings. And on the end, we also help our clients to collect that revenue. Okay, follow-up emails, phone calls. How do we get that cash that somebody signed off back into your bank account? And that's manual process. And right now, that's what we're trying to automate.
How many people did you have in your company to do that for all these startups?
I think I had like 15 people doing all of this, and my companies ranged from Series Seed to like I worked with big ones like I worked with Segment, I worked with TaskRabbit. There is no AR to be specifically, but like I worked with large companies that required a lot of mail force. Yeah.
I guess you also worked with Dr. Chrono.
Yes. Yep.
So which gets us to your background. Daniel, Vinay, you were working on Dr. Chrono together.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll give you some background on why I wanted to work on this specific problem and why I felt like there was a need in Silicon Valley. It's easy for a company to generate like $100,000 in revenue, and they may be able to track that okay. But as you go up, like as you get more and more revenue throughout the years, it becomes more messy, right? You might sign a contract that you get paid once a year. You might sign a contract that you get paid every 6 months. But once you get into thousands of customers, it becomes more of a sophisticated process where right now the industry is to just hire people. You hire people and the people manage all of the revenue and you just hire more people. And that's just the way that it is. Though that's the way that the world works, like in the revenue space. So at Dr. Chrono, some of my history is, we were a really successful company. So I saw that growing pain where we would hire more people for more revenue, and then you get more revenue, then you hire more people, and then you have to manage all that revenue, which is, it's an arduous process, but every company goes through this process where they just hire team members to manage all that. You don't have to do all of that. And, me experiencing a successful startup, I felt like there was a need because we worked together. We all worked together. Analia, I saw what she was doing, and Vinay, I mean, he could talk about his background. But yeah.
Sure. I was at Dr. Khan. I was building the billing system for healthcare claims and managing patient collections and everything. So I was building the billing system for healthcare. Part of my job is also build the doctors who are our customers at Dr. Chrono. So we do have built our own internal AR system, which is not the business that we sell, but we have to bill our doctors.
So the three of you, Anelia has domain expertise. You have company building and product building expertise and engineering expertise. You got together, started working on this. What was the first prototype like?
So we have actually moved quite a bit. Initially, when we started this product, we were focusing on bill pay, just like paying bills. So you have your contract, or if you have invoice, it's accounts payable. So you upload your bill and we pay on behalf of you, set up a schedule, or automatically read through what is the amount that need to be paid and what is the account that the money needs to be transferred. So we started with that.
What is similar to Bill.com?
Yeah, similar to Bill.com, like accounts payable featured like in Bill.com. And then we realized that this is not just it. That is not the platform that we want. We eventually transitioned into having like an analytical pipeline where we have all the data from your multiple systems like QuickBooks, your ERP solution, and if you are using bank data collecting bank data from your banks, all your transaction records, and create a analytical tool that actually helps you see where your money is going through, where you're getting money and where your money is going. And then AI came in, the AI wave came in. Like we actually talked to a lot of customers. What they actually preferred to have is more of a automation tool that actually helps them all this manual work automated rather than having this analytical dashboard. Eventually, we will have that in our system if the manual process is automated, because the basic problem that customers are facing is to scrub the data and consolidate that data into one single platform. That's a huge issue. So we are trying to solve that problem as we are building our platform.
Can we go back to this first prototype, which is basically Bill.com?
Yeah.
What do you think about like having similar features that this humongous company that dominates the market how do you sell something like this to customers?
I mean, the goal is to honestly delight people. I feel like there's a lot of bad products out there that are just not that user friendly. And you just have to be slightly incrementally more like beautiful in a sense, like, and have a simpler interface where that alone actually can help make sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were trying to create something honestly just for ourselves in a crazy way. It's like the great thing about this company is we're building it, we're using it for ourselves to charge our own customers. We're using it to pay our own bills. So we're like, what do we want? Which it's a lot of fun to like actually pull contracts into our own software that we're using to bill our customers. So we're kind of it's a lot of fun actually like being that user. But billion-dollar companies, they're out there, but I'll give you an example. Like Ford was out there, and Tesla comes along and just starts to do something radically different. I think that's what we're trying to do is how do we take a lot of like the AI that's out there and really leverage this technology in a really new, unique way, but also allow it to function like a Bill.com. So, long term, you may not need to be involved in everything. Maybe you're like anything under $50, I'm gonna allow 400 fills to go under $50 where I don't have to review those. And if you set these like really smart AI tools up, you may not have to do every single thing yourself. But it's a refinement process. Like you have to work on it every day, and software kind of is living and breathing. Some of the larger companies don't change. I guess they're either scared that they're going to break something. They're scared of like their user base revolting if like they change things drastically. So they don't change much. So like $1 billion company today is not $1 billion company tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
Yeah. They get protective or I think it's everybody's problem. Like your boss success starts meaning so much because everybody's praising you for it. So whenever you look at it as a founder, or whenever you hire somebody, and that actually gets even worse with the people you hire because they were not there to build it. So they think of it as something magical that you are not trying to change at all. But I think what's really important, what you said, is that your first prototype, I feel like really caught my attention, was pretty much what Build.com was, but more beautiful. And I love that. It's a great example how founders build something with a bigger vision, but they start with something that just works and just incrementally a little bit better. That's super cool.
Do you remember what other first steps you did as a team of JustPay?
I think finding a good team was critical. Analia had a lot of ideas in her head. And, we had Vinay, and she was throwing idea after Vinay at Vinay. And she took it into her own hands to like find an amazing designer on her team. So like finding amazing engineers and a designer to really help us execute. And we knew when you have no revenue at the very first start of a company, you have to find people that are willing, they're like true believers that are not taking like, huge $1 million salaries. You get these believers that really like believe in the vision. They really jump on board. And, it was piece by piece that we kind of pieced it together. But I mean, Vinay doesn't stop coding with every free second. He's trying to execute on code. Analia is like trying to really, me and Analia are talking to sales. So there's a whole process that happens. You have to continually talk to sales because if you don't have customers, why are you even building, right?
So that's the super interesting. So we kind of broke down your product and the history. Let's try to look into how your company is built now in terms of people. How many people do you have?
I think it's 10 people we have right now.
We have a mix of engineering, sales, and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 3 engineers working remotely, 1 contractor. The engineers are building the platform. They are full stack engineers, so working both on building the nice interfaces that the customers use, also the magic that happens with AI in the backend with databases that they will be setting up and building stuff. And we do have one designer who is actually building this cool designs, very intuitive and also sophisticated enough to accommodate all the complex workflows that the accountant has to deal with.
Let's go just talk a little bit more about the engineers. So when hiring engineers, do you try to hire people that are overqualified with what you actually need, or do you want to find people who are right for this job?
What I actually look for when I'm hiring engineers is not just coding skills. Like if you want to just hire a coder, you can find one, but we also want to have someone who sees the vision as the founder sees, because as the time grows, this engineer who hired at the early stage will be the person who will become an executive, who will be running a whole team. So if they cannot see the vision, what the founder is seeing right now, it is very difficult to actually transition this person to an exec level over time. So the first thing that I look for is the product, how they can visualize the product. The second quality that I'm looking for in the engineers is constantly delivering. Once the engineer is constantly delivering, they will get a lot of feedback on that, and they will iterate what they're working on, and that will eventually become a good feedback loop, so that they will grow themselves as an engineer, as a leader, as a product person, whatever they want. And the third quality that I'm looking for is dealing with the hardships. Especially in startups, there is a problem with constantly shifting because we are delivering for the customers.
Is it why they are remote? Did you lock them in a dungeon?
No, actually, it's an interesting story. Some of these engineers are like, they actually contacted us rather than we coming to us. They loved the product. They want to work for us. They said, we will work for free for some time. And we tested it out and worked out well, and they are very amazing. They're doing good, and they themselves brought their friends to work for us. So that's how we grew the team.
Hey, so we got the recipe for a successful startup on early stage. You need to get a person who worked for free, and then other people join who also work for free and bring their friends to work for free. They're good at dealing with hardships, and eventually.
But they have to share the vision.
There's some truth in that. You have truth in that, yeah.
Because it's product vision, and then dealing with all this hardship is a necessary skill when you're working for a startup. But we are paying right now. Once they have proved, we have to keep those talent very longer. So we have to provide all the things that they need. Either it's a equity part, or it's a cash compensation, or it could be the responsibility of leadership. Some people want to grow themselves as leaders. We have to give that as a compensation as well. So we have to provide opportunities.
So other than engineers, you got salespeople?
Yes, we do have a head of sales. He also is an amazing sales lead who worked at Dr. Chrono. So we're fortunate we are working with him again.
So you sold Dr. Chrono, right? Yes. And now you're stripping it off its team.
No, these are people that are, I think people just move on from a company, and, Vinay moved on from Dr. Chrono years ago before I sold the company, and so did Analia. We just kept in touch, right? So like Vinay, he moved on. I knew he was like one of the best people I ever worked with. I was like, if we ever have a chance, let's work together. He posted something on LinkedIn one day. So I sold Dr. Chrono, and, I'm like, what's my next move going to be? Thinking for long and hard, but me and Vinay actually met up. He moved on from Dr. Chrono, and then we met up and just started brainstorming, and we didn't have an idea. And I knew Analia for years, and she moved on from Dr. Chrono years before I sold it. And I knew she was like one of the best people to work with because she could build her own company, and she executed like flawlessly on her own company. And Analia reached out to me one night, and I was talking to Vinay. And, Analia started to lay out this like big vision of like, I don't want, I want like software to do what I did. And I'm like, I understood like the vision, and I understood the problem because of running my past company. And, I think if you keep good relationships when people like leave, that you sometimes work together in the future. And that's really where like all these people are starting to come together again.
Yeah.
With this.
Well, I called Daniel. I'm like, Daniel, I think I'm crazy because I have zero technical background. I never built any kind of product. I built a service company. But there is this company, Bill.com, and every single person who ever uses this, they hate it. Accountants hate it for these reasons, and I listed reasons. And founders and approval process, the people involved, they also hate it because it's so terrible user experience and execution and everything. And it also doesn't solve the problem of controlling side. You just you scrape information, you type it all yourself, kick it up to approver. Approver, it's not his money, it's the company's money. They're just like, approve, let's go. And then we do audit accountants at the end of the year. We're like, oh, unfortunately, we paid these people when the contract expired. Unfortunately, we didn't collect this revenue because salespeople never delivered us this revenue number, so sales contract. So how do we actually make it not only just transfer money and click approve, but be the support and, be the co-pilot in some way, right? It's nice to say it now with AI. So that's what I was talking to Daniel. Daniel, I think I'm crazy. And I think at that point, I called Daniel to hear confirmation that I am crazy. I shouldn't do that. And Daniel was like, wait a minute, you're going 100 miles per hour. Let me write it down. So what are you thinking? And then I was like, oh yeah, I want the analytics platform and the decision-making platform, decision-making, because contract has so much information there. And it's supposed to allow me to make a decision hey, can I hire a developer 5 months from now at this salary if I have this many contracts in pipeline, right? Can I do that? Usually, people I worked with, so startup founders, they'll ask me and I'll look at the numbers and I'm like, yes, you can. Or no, not really. Your receivable cycle is too slow. It's impossible. But we can analyze it. We can give them these answers. So Daniel was we spent 2 hours. I was outlining entire whole vision, and I really also wanted to go into factoring and receivables and unlocking capital and for companies. And then then I think next day you're I talked to Vinay. Let's talk again. and then Daniel was like, you know what? You're not crazy. Actually, you're not crazy, and I want to build it with you. And I was like, gosh. I expected a different answer. I expected to be told that's not going to work. Calm down. Keep doing what you're doing, And Daniel was extremely supportive, and we connected. And then we're like, we should do Y Combinator. And we applied on a deadline. So for me, it was very important. I've been working with YC-funded companies for years, since 2011. I knew partners. I did some of their accounting. I knew, a lot of companies failed and successes.
You know what they do with their taxes?
I don't do taxes. No. But a lot of, so for me, that was kind of, I wanted that. I wanted to be part of a community. And as a solo founder previously, feeling supported is one of those, leverages, levers I have to be part of a community where everybody's rooting for your success, we're posting things on LinkedIn and people are upvoting it and whatnot. It's such a tightly knit community and everybody's struggling, and we understand that it's very hard. And for me, that was important. And for Daniel, I remember you said you were going oh, it's a flywheel effect. Everybody is in this network. They need somebody to take ownership of accounts receivable, of accounts payable. They need somebody to ask those questions and let it be a platform that's available 24/7. Because founders have 24/7 anxiety. And I'm not going to wait for my accountant to wake up to ask them this question. And I'm not their top priority because they might have 15 other companies. I want to just go on the platform and get my numbers. All right, my KPIs are good. All right, I can go to my investor meeting. I say this is what I'm having without needing to Slack everybody.
That is a pretty unique value prop, being able to get to solve anxiety.
Yeah, right.
At 2 a.m.
Yeah, what do? You go to justpaid and it gives you the answers. So that's kind of the idea. And then flywheel effect is, of course, unbelievable for a company that solves problems like what we're doing.
And Daniel, you've been at YC in the early days, and you went through it like this year.
Yeah. So
Was it?
So give them like 7% of your equity again.
I think getting the right investors on board early helps the company immensely. So if you think about Y Combinator, it's hard when you're on the outside to understand why would you like do Y Combinator? I kind of equate it to like a network of like thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. When we first started, I was asking a billionaire, and me and Vinay went in an email chain like, what tech stack should we use with a billionaire who's in Y Combinator? And he's responding saying, this is the tech stack we use, this is what we're doing here. And, I don't talk to this person often, but we're in Y Combinator together. So like they responded immediately and started to give us ideas on tech stack, and me and Vinay were brainstorming on that. I kind of view it like sports teams. Like if you're like a soccer team or a football team, or you need a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And in YC, there's a lot of confidential coaches that really will like help give you advice. And what's funny is we just came back actually from it was basically a 3-day retreat out in the woods with like about 100 founders from Y Combinator. And you just get information overload from like really successful people, really smart people, just throwing so many reasons and strategies at you that you kind of have to process all that. And there's these like secret meetups. Like there's one tonight. There's a secret meetup around fintech. We're going to the secret meetup where there's a bunch of successful fintech founders like meeting that are all in Y Combinator, talking about like how they did it and what they're doing next. And that if they can do it, you can do it, right? So you see a lot of like, Brian Chesky, if he could do it, someone else can do it. Like the founders of Stripe, if they can do it, you can do it. You get this like really unique experience where like we're all kind of pumping each other up in that way.
Can you share any like insights from these 3 days?
I mean, maybe if you guys want to.
It's very connecting, yeah. The free flow of ideas and, knowing that you're not recorded, that you can like really go and share something radical that's in the privacy and security of this community is one of the dearest experiences I had. So probably no, I'm not going to share anything.
Also, you will get a lot of inside ideas how companies dealing with. So when you are talking in open public or in an open meetup, you won't express all those details. But when you are in Verge and when you are like having like a close group of founders, you will open up all the problems that you are dealing with. Maybe that problems we will eventually face over time. We might have a solution because that person who we connected in this camp for 3 days might have solved it by the time. So it's like we are building, we are like understanding the journey of this software, of this startup before even we understand it or we go through it.
I think it's super important when you have a medium where you can connect with other founders. I remember being a founder, and this is incredibly lonely because you constantly face rejection. Everybody rejects you. People don't want to work for you. Investors don't want to invest. Clients don't want to buy your stuff. Even like landlords don't want to leave you in office. And then you kind of have to be projecting success because you are leading a team. You need to create this story about how awesome this company is, so clients want to join other clients using the service, right? So I guess getting in the woods with other founders, you could actually be a little more honest that, hey, we're like failing every day. We're being rejected, right? That's pretty cool. I want founders watching us to understand that, well, it's fine to fail daily. It's just optimizing for fast failures is what really matters. So how do you sell your product now? What is working? Can you share like what is the value proposition that you're pitching?
I mean, we're taking a lot of different strategies on sales. Getting on Zoom by Zoom meeting, we're literally pitching different business owners on the value. I'm kind of on Zoom meetings literally every day, trying to figure out new ways to reach out, new novel ways that'll get people engaged, spending time with people and understanding their problems. Analia has a really good, what was that book you told everybody?
Mom test.
Mom Test. I read the book because of Analia, and she uses that strategy quite a bit on just understanding like what the real pain point is. And then Vinay also, he's getting her on calls, so it's at the end of the day, it's about the sales and the product. So like, just literally hitting the pavement and just like talking to as many customers as possible. We did hire an early VP of growth, and he's really using a lot of strategies, really sophisticated strategies that just weren't around before, like, AI-based email messaging. We record every Zoom meeting to make sure like we could just like process it. Another thing is like, the engineers are a little bit async with us. So like we send them all over the Zoom meetings and, just so they understand like what's going on, and they code and actually watch meetings. Yeah.
Usually engineers don't even know what salespeople are selling.
Right.
And then they get surprised, like, why did you sell this? This will never work.
Yeah.
Right. But, I think I asked a couple of the engineers, like, what happened in your past company that fell? And they said, like, they didn't talk to the sales. Like, and I'm like, okay, we got to, like, really everyone aligned. And the team is small, so it's very possible to, like, do that. So it is a new world, like, where COVID happened. And I think, people don't have to be all in the same room. So we're really taking advantage of how do we work together in, like, really productive ways.
So what can you give us an example of what do you see resonating with your customers right now the most out of all of the features and your website?
I think the best that I'm picking up on in terms of customer product fit in our product is automation. So right now we are selling to founders who are doing the founder-led sales. And for them, it's like, oh my goodness, I signed a sales contract. I now have to figure out how to do invoicing. I have to figure out how to log into my billing processing, like Stripe platform. I have to create a billing plan. I have to create these things. Then I have to create a customer record. And I have to remember to do certain things. And like, before I make a step forward, I have to make like 15 steps to the side, then I can make a step forward. That's annoying. I don't want to do it. I'm like, all right, so with us, it's just automation. You have your Microsoft Word document, you send it to us. That's automation. And we create customer records, we create billing plans. We're really looking at it very creative way and figuring out what works for them. Then another pain point that we're hitting in conversations I'm having with founders, cost of processing, cost of merchant fees, and those are very expensive. Like on your high ACV sale, you just might have lost 1%. Or you spend 6 months trying to close a deal, and your merchant processor just took 1% of bite of that, like that's outrageous. And in this economy, we cannot afford it. So with JustPaid, when we're charging like per transaction and it's a fixed fee amount, no matter if it's a $500,000 invoice or it's like a $2,000 invoice, with us, it's predictable. We're not charging you for percentage of your sale. And we are the one processing the payment. We are, we're creating unique payment link, we collect the money. And then the next step, all right, as a founder-led sale, how do you send an invoice, you manage that. And then what do you do when your customer didn't pay you? We feel very shy to follow up and say, hey, you signed a contract and, you haven't paid me. So founders do feel that. We all feel that asking for money is not the most comfortable. So I had to do it a lot for my clients. So I would be like the one emailing, hey, you know what, invoices unpaid, 2 invoices are unpaid. What do we do? What's the problem? Like, are you missing something? Is it the right are you the right person to receive this? So we're like now taking this stressful point of asking for money, we're taking it from our customers, from our users, and saying, well, we're the ones to do this uncomfortable thing. We're the one going to hunt down who owes you money and bring this money into your bank account. So yeah, it is. It is. And I find it like this, like, okay, With some customers like, oh yeah, we really like our customers are paying us. We have like contract with Apple. It just takes forever, but we don't want to lose 1% on accepting checks from Apple. That's ridiculous.
Did you pick this side, the receivables side, on purpose? Because founders who get receivables, they're growing, and founders who don't, I mean, like, everybody pays, right? Somebody.
Everybody pays somebody. I think so. We started with like my whole idea was in the beginning. It was built out like intelligentbuild.com, right? That was an idea. It was like an aggregator of financial data. As we started growing it, as we started selling it, we're like, all right, like it's harder to sell the AP side because what companies have on, until they're like Series B, Series C company, their expenses mostly like it's 80% payroll, and then you have SaaS, and then maybe you have some meals and travel, but now nobody even does that. So to manage AP side, there is not really early need for founders who are selling our product. And if you're gonna go up market, that software is already like it needs to have bells and whistles and a cherry on top. We cannot get there that fast. But with revenue, there is so much of the pains that people are experiencing earlier, and who are like, okay, we can sell our product already now. That's how we got into AR. Later down the road, there will be a platform that's both, but we'll see how we're going to be like, the revenue should pick up from one side to bring up the other side part of the business up. That's kind of my view. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you get a startup paid, they'll pay you. I mean, it's really that base. And that this insight came from Anali. It's like, if you get a startup paid, they'll pay you. So we built out they'll pay first, which is money going out of the startup. And we're like, wait, let's just focus on accounts receivable and get that really dialed in. And then accounts payable is built out already. The accounts receivable, if we get that really just getting people paid when they need to get paid, it made total sense to me when we were like talking through this way more. But just to getting product live, we built account payable. We're like, let's get something out. We immediately started executing it.
How soon did you require funding? So you started, 3 of you working. I guess you did not take any money for yourselves. How long before you were actually able to raise the money?
It was really fast. It was kind of like lightning. Honestly, like we got together, we started to self-fund it. And then, we applied to Y Combinator literally after talking. And it was like a couple of...
Yeah, so September 12th, we applied. November 19th, we got accepted. And we received our first tranche of financing from YC was in January. But we already had some investors who gave us money because they wanted to make sure that they got in.
So I think that was we invested in January too.
Yeah.
3 months in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's abnormal for some startups. Like we were moving fast. We found our first engineers really fast. Like people were just coming to us. It's definitely a weird time where a lot of people will work with you because there's so many layoffs happening, right? And then investors are out there looking for like the next big thing. So it's like there's a really good, interesting ecosystem happening. They say the markets are bad out there. I think the startup world is honestly flourishing. There's so much happening right now.
Mm-hmm. You consider yourselves an AI company?
Well, absolutely, yes. Yeah. To answer that question, absolutely, we do have AI at the forefront of every action that you take, or content take. The main intention of that is the ChatGPT or OpenAI has democratized this AI to everyone. So now everyone understands what AI means and what are the side effects of it and how to utilize it. That actually opened up doors for us to integrate all that nice things that we get from AI into our platform. And we are cautious about using AI, not everywhere, but where it is intended to be used. For example, manual entry is something that people hate. People don't want to enter the details, which can be automated with AI. And people don't want to compare two things and say, okay, this is right, or reconcile things. So that's where reconciliation also handled by AI. In addition to that, people are so used to this chat, like asking questions and taking actions based upon chat. So we also have built a chat ecosystem, which is like a layer on top of our existing application. So you can take actions like send an invoice and type the customer name, or AI will recognize who is the customer and when to send invoice, and it will send automatically the invoice. Similarly, getting metrics, what's my balance in my bank account, you can get the numbers automatically in our system. So we are definitely moving in the direction to utilize AI at the fullest.
Do you have any AI talent?
Yes, I worked in AI. I worked with AI systems before, and all the engineers are also learning to use AI. And it is the utilizing AI has become so easy. It became so easy that you don't need a special type of skill. You don't need to go get a PhD to build an AI system nowadays.
Is there going to be a point where your company would need a few PhDs?
Well, yes, we might run into that issue when we want to have built all the systems internally rather than relying on OpenAI or Anthropic or Google. If we want to build all of the systems internally, and we want to build I would say like a virtual analia into our system. So that I think we need to get PhDs at that time.
I mean, it's similar to like what's happening with like, way back when you had to buy your own servers, you had to know how to run Linux or Unix.
Yeah.
Now you don't need to like run your own servers. You don't need to know what the temperature of the room is, right? So like we're really leveraging, like these companies are getting funded billions of dollars. Why not leverage some of that technology? Because they've got a lot of people there. Now what gives us an advantage is they don't have the financial right? So like as people connect in, they pull in their financial data, we keep it private. The goal is to keep it private and then leverage these other technologies. So we may not need as many PhDs as like an OpenAI or an Anthropic, right? Like that's their whole business. For us, we're looking at like leveraging all of that. So
you touched a very interesting topic, and there was actually a question on LinkedIn. So we told people on LinkedIn what they wanted to know. And there was a question, how much does it matter to your customers that you keep their data private? How much of an audit do you have to pass, if any? Do you have to build something special to say like, hey, we're qualified and authorized to work with financial data?
That's a very good question. I would like to answer that. So I see the financial data in two aspects. So when you deassociate the numbers with the PII data, the customer information, company information, it's basically the numbers, and it doesn't have much of like association to it. What AI needs is that numbers, how to crunch that number. So we have to create an ecosystem where you have all these transactions over month, and if you want to see the natural progression of your burn or natural progression of your revenue, you need those transactions data. So when we are passing this information to AI models, we are not actually passing the company information or the PII information, which is really critical. We are passing those numbers, making sure that information that we send to the third-party services is completely isolated, and it is independent of company. And we are very cautious about storing critical information like bank account number, routing number, all their like social security number, so we are trying to make sure this information is stored in the highly secured manner. So for example, we do not actually store the bank account number or routing number. We use a service called Plot, which is like securing the platform is their bread and butter. Securing managing the bank transactions is their bread and butter. So we are using those type of services to make sure we pull in only the information that we need and we will utilize it just in time, so that our platform is not vulnerable to attacks, and make sure we are not like exploiting the data in any way.
Good. That's like a good answer. Going back to September, imagine you're there with what you already know. What would you have done differently?
I would say for myself, I would
Other than not working with these guys.
right. I think what I would do differently is I would just start sales earlier. That's what I would start differently. My learnings are this, which is completely opposite from what I've been doing for last years, doing accounting and selling the services that existed and I knew how to do. Like, that's so unnatural to me. But in software, you go out, you do the sale, and then you build a product, especially in a startup environment. So that's something that I'm learning actively, and it's hard and it's unnatural, but that's what I would do differently. I think that's one thing.
I think it's a tough question to answer because we're so early. This is like the first inning of a long journey. I think we're fortunate, right? We're in Silicon Valley. We have connections. We're working with amazing people. Like, it's hard to tell what is like not right, if that makes sense. Or like, it's kind of like refining as we go. So it's hard to tell. I mean, we've been fortunate to find all the amazing engineers. We've been fortunate to find amazing designer, amazing investors. So it was really, up until this point, I think we've had a really good process. There's always more you can do, right? Like, I want to be on the phone 24/7. If I could do I wish I could do 100 phone calls a day, like with sales. That's the one thing I'm like, how do I do that for myself, right? But I don't know, Vinay, if you have an answer.
Yeah, I think we are just 1 year old, so young. We will not have a lot of answers right now. Maybe 10 years from now, we will have a lot of answers. Maybe we would have chosen Bitcoin, or maybe we would have chosen something else for the payment rails, something disruptive. But right now, it is so early to answer those questions. Whatever we have chosen so far, it's working out.
That's pretty cool. Does it feel like you have the sacred letters product market?
It's a tough product market fit in my head is like every other call closes. I think it's not that ratio yet. So there's a lot of feedback, a lot of no's and some yeses. So we're getting to that point. It just takes time. If we had product market fit, we'd raise a large round when we're ready. And that's like, we feel like, you get on a call, you can close it pretty fast.
So what's your strategy on looking? Does it feel it's like somewhere adjacent to where you are?
Be product market fit?
Yeah.
At the speed we're moving, I would say it's probably not far. We've been executing on this vision. Like, a lot of startups, I would say, like, bounce around and they just don't execute. They'll either work on this idea, then they'll jump forward to that idea, and they'll jump to this idea. I feel like that's good in some senses because you're feeling out like the spaces and different, ways to test product. I talk to founders all the time that are like pivoting, and I'm like, you've been doing this 3 years. Like, where's your customers at this point, right? Like, so for us, we've been beating this drum, like, how do you get the money moved faster and easier? So every day it's getting like better and better. It's like that process. But I would say yes. The answer is, we're getting there.
I'm just curious, how many domains did you purchase when you found your main JustPaid?
I think like somewhere around 30, 35.
Yeah.
You also have sell lots in your
30 myself.
Yes. We had a company name original was Loop4, and it was an iteration on for loop, which is like an accounting, you do same work over and over, and in engineering, for loop, right? You guys will explain better.
So since you are doing the same work over and over again, since we are automating that, we named it Loop4. And then I think since we are selling it to accountants, accountants are people who are in finance. Maybe we should rename it to a name that makes sense, that easily people can understand and relate to. That's where we renamed to justpaid.
Like saying loop 4, also people get the follow-up questions, right? Is there a 4 in there? How do you spell it? And I remember I was literally on the floor. I was like, okay, we need a better name. I was like, I'll call it a couch. I'll call it a pillow. Like everything I could see, right? I was just so desperate.
Just never call it your dog's name.
Yeah.
Our company was Cherry Labs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And then you sell the company, like, do I still call my dog Cherry?
Right.
Do I still own the trademark? Hey, dog, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it's like, oh, justpaid. And I remember I went online and justpaid.io, the domain was $35. And I was like, that's good. I'm cheap. That's perfect. So I called the guys. I'm like, how about justpaid? They're like, yeah.
Really don't remember. Is it a spell? And yeah, it kind of
To understand it.
easy to understand what you do. We have this fun little thing going. Every time we watch, we stream, probably not say this, but we stream YC Demo Day inside our LP community.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we like do live commentary. We have a little inside joke going where we collect startups that have the same name or similar name. And we were laughing at it. And now it turns out we have multiple of those in our portfolio. Like we have 2 companies called Creator. One is spelled with an 8.
That happens, yeah. It definitely happens a lot where it is.
Yeah, but justpaid is unique, at least in our portfolio. I do see a lot of competition. What do you think about competition in general?
If a competition is there, I think we are building a good problem. I mean, the problem that is already there in this, and many people are facing it. So it actually gives more confidence if we have competition, because there is a huge value that we can gain from this platform. Ultimately, competition is not something that we are worried about. Our main intention is to get more customers if we are solving the right problem or not. Everyone have their own perspective to solve problems. Whether that problem works or not, it ultimately decided by the customer. So I feel rather than worrying too much about the competition, obsess about the customer and their feedback is more valuable.
I agree with that. I think it's we don't really look at the competition at all when we're building a product. It's like, how do we get ourselves paid? And how do we make it easy for us? And then that will make it easier for our users as well. So like there's a lot of natural process. In your head, you've envisioned something that, how would you, send your money out from your LPs to your customers in an easier way? It's in your head, but you're doing it like your way now, and it's frustrating. I'm sure there's a lot of frustrations. We're literally...
AngelList is pretty good at that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they solved it, but yeah, it used to be a huge pain point.
Got it. But it's a pain point a lot. Yeah, it's definitely a pain point for us to like collect money. So we're like, how do we make that usable?
Collecting money from LPs is rough.
That's, yeah.
I
would assume AngelList makes it super easy. It all flies in.
They're US-based and they subscribe to ACH, but like half of our US-based LPs don't like ACH. They're like, I'm not giving my bank account to AngelList.
Got it.
Like they will get breached and they're a startup. And so that becomes a problem. And then people wiring from Japan, that's another kind of problem because their banks are weird. And then European banks are even worse. And here they need to get a wire before they sign the contract. And in Europe, they need to sign the contract before they can initiate a wire. So that requires a lot of manual work.
But in theory, it's supposed to be super simple, like subscribe to Netflix,
Right.
subscribe to Amazon. And then
We got
to check for their like.
In the ideal world, like 2 people have intention of making stuff work together. So one agrees to pay to like do work, another one agrees to pay. This just has to happen. So what you guys building, I think it's very important. and chasing contracts is probably my worst nightmare from all of you guys. I mean,
Yeah, so
yeah, we had an iteration where we worked with families, did direct to consumer, and these were AI cameras that would look after elderly people, and that would always feel wrong, asking them for money when they missed a payment. That was
And at that time, we were using Bill.com, so
yeah.
it's not very friendly experience.
got it. So you guys know this really intimately, actually.
Yeah.
For us, the JustPaid has like multiple problems it's solving, but managing all of the in one continuous flow. So ownership of billing, it's a no-code billing solution. So you don't need to invest in engineers. You don't need to train accountants on the specific billing system that's somebody created years ago and no longer with your company. It's specific, and we do billing from both usage-based billing, we do tier-based billing, item-based billing, and the cycle of creating revenue, tracking revenue, recognizing revenue properly for tax purposes, managerial reports, financial projections, and then completely owning, also delegating the piece of collecting that revenue to JustPaid. And how we're charging, it's a monthly platform fee plus usage fee per transaction at just $2 a transaction. So it's very scalable, very affordable. Yeah, very affordable.
So who's your ideal client? Is it a B2B SaaS company?
B2B SaaS is the best at this point. And then as we grow, we'll expand, of course. It will be like, could be like, ideally, it's like whoever does, okay, let's say, usage-based billing, right? Or tiered pricing. With that, totally have those cases nailed down. Or you like, oh my goodness, I'm a PR agency and I'm selling my services and like I have this many contracts and I don't want to go into any billing system. I just want to message that, hey, I need to create this invoice. So like as soon as that sales contract is signed, the billing sequence starts. You're no longer part of it. It's done. It's complete. It's reported. That's it.
So any other service company, right?
Yep, service
like
company.
CPAs.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, yeah, I could use it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I'll follow up after.
That's cool. I don't know what kind of audience we're gonna get on this show, but usually what we're getting on our social is founders, or people who want to become founders.
Mm-hmm.
There are also a lot of people who can go and join your team and work for you. We have a lot of engineers. Do we want to touch on that? Like what is like working for JustPaid?
Sure, I can touch upon that. So working at JustPaid, we are a very small knitted team. And asynchronous communication is the first approach that we are taking because it's a remote friendly world. And also we are making sure that everyone is responsible. Like there is no like hierarchy. Since you are owning a particular piece of thing, you will be responsible for it and you will own it. If there is any issue that or any customer who says that I need this particular feature, that particular person will be automatically cranking stuff and making changes to it and addressing the customer problem. So it should be as simple as the customer is the boss rather than keeping a hierarchy of a manager and a director or something like that. So we want to pass that feedback from customer to the very engineer in the end. So that's the culture that we are building. And in addition to that, we also want to honor every single idea that we are getting from our developers or the sales reps or marketing people. What we are trying to do is we have a bi-weekly sync up where we talk about what are the problems that we are having and how we solve that problems. For sales, we do have like a sales problems, a separate meeting for sales meeting where engineers will attend and actually give their contribution. Similarly, we do have engineering sync-ups where an Alia will join or Daniel will join and give some inputs to it. So it's like we are solving each and every single problem in the space, but ideas from other sectors are also taken into consideration. which I haven't seen any startup I have worked at.
What, just jumping in, this code actually gets pushed to production also. So like, it's not like a large company where you'll be coding for 6 months and then maybe your stuff is released here. Every engineer,
An internal function.
what's that?
Like,
It's exactly like that. Isn't launched to like the primary users. So here, literally, everybody that does work is like they're contributing to the company. So it's at that scale where you can't hide if you can't code. So we know immediately who like is amazing, and like, every coder is amazing that we have, and they're just all, developing at a very fast rate. Every week we have show and tell, basically, where we sit down for an hour at 8 a.m, Monday morning, and the engineers like demo product. It's a lot of fun. It's probably like the funnest time, because you're seeing like the newest stuff, like as we're building it, and then we're giving real time feedback.
Cool. So where do you source the team from, other than Dr. Craw?
Honestly, it's been really a lot of inbound. Like in the last week, we had, I think it was like 300 candidate supply engineers.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane, like how many people want to work with us, and we've been really picky. So we've been really just going through resumes, understanding who's who. Everybody that we get on an interview actually has to code, like real time. They're fixing bugs on their own product, so we'll give them a hackathon.
Mm-hmm.
And in that hackathon, sit there and say like, well, what's wrong with this? And if they freeze, did they code it? Or are they like a deep thinker? Like, do they want to take a day to like fix the problem? But
To allow them to use Copilot X.
Yes, we actually use, we give a full access to AI tools because we are building an AI solution.
Makes
So
sense.
we're open about it. We developers use Copilot, and we do have like tools that automatically create pull requests. If there is a bug, we ask the AI to generate a PR so that the developer don't need to write the boilerplate information. And we do have AI review going on. So it's the newest generation company that we are building.
That is dope. Cool. Thank you guys so much for joining and for making this happen. Like, this is a prototype of like pre-alpha. We'll try to iterate and we'll definitely have to do a lot of work to make it better, but without you, it wouldn't be possible. I hope that somebody out there who watches it will like it. Maybe even subscribe to the channel, and maybe they will come check out your product or come work for you. But it's gonna be tricky to get through, like 300 people, candidates for one position. Then it's a tough ratio. Like getting into Stanford.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but that speaks highly of your team. So the team is definitely very, very good. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.